Islands have long been known as home to some rare and unique ecosystems, but scientists have now discovered just how rare. Australian researchers are part of a global study looking at endemic island plants. So, what have they found? And why is this important to conservation?
I'm an ecologist from Macquarie University here in Australia, but I have a broad international network. It's mainly with colleagues from Germany. And we together one day sat down and said, we need to know how many species are actually occurring on islands and which don't, because this is a number we have so far just only been guessing at, but we had absolutely no clue what the real number is. And so we got together and pulled together a huge data set from all different resources from all over the world with colleagues also from the US and from Spain and from Japan and various others. And what I found really astonishing in this study is that we actually were able to pin down a very specific number, how many species are native on islands, so occur there naturally, and which species are actually endemic on island. That means species that only occur on islands and not on the mainland. And this number for the first one, so how many are native, was staggering 1/3 of all plant species worldwide. To give that kind of a perspective, it's about 90,000 species occur on islands. And of these, about 60,000 species, which is about 1 in 5 plant species globally, are endemic on islands and only occur on islands. And this was, for me, kind of mind-blowing because this number was completely new and we didn't expect it to be so large. So Australia is actually an island nation. We have about 8,000 islands in Australia alone. But of these, many of the islands are just small islands around the coast. Yeah, we know them probably from fishing, from recreation, from sailing, and so on. And we only have a few islands which are larger, like Tasmania, or really off the coast and that have never been connected to the Australian mainland. For instance, like Lord Howe Island, just off Sydney, or Norfolk Island, off Brisbane, or Macquarie Island, and so on. And for plant species to become endemic, it's very important that there's no constant kind of connectivity or gene flow to the mainland population so that they are isolated for a very long time and then evolve into new species in isolation. And for Australia, it was very interesting to see that on these coastal islands, there's hardly any endemic species, that species that only occur on these islands, they also occur on the mainland, but that our endemic species are mainly confined to 3 main islands. Tasmania, because it's really large and very, like heterogeneous, but also the small, tiny Lord Howe Island and Norfolk Island that has a very large share of endemic species. That's very, very interesting. The conservation part of our study was really important. 1 in 5 plant species only occurs on islands means that we also need to conserve the species on the island itself. So we can't just rely on only mainland populations, say, well, if the species got lost on an island, doesn't matter, we still have it on the mainland. So we really need to focus on the conservation concerns to and on these islands. And these were mainly like those islands with most endemic species, were mainly tropical islands, and these tropical islands are often have probably conservation concerns. They need larger protected areas. There's probably not enough funds or money, resources that go in conservation. And I think we really need to support these islands and island nations, which can't probably set up conservation network as we perhaps in Australia can do. So that was really important. I think if you're talking about 1/5 of all plant species worldwide, we definitely need to do something. We can't ignore this number at all. And what can everybody do to conserve island species? Well, I think the most important thing is really obeying or probably also applying to biosecurity laws, because many island species are threatened by invasive species, so species which are not native, which came from another area. And these often on islands can spread everywhere and basically lead to extinctions and population declines of these island species. And by following these biosecurity laws and so on, we can help at least to prevent new invasive species coming into these islands. Apart from that, I think it's really also down for like botanical gardens and herbaria and also the governments to establish effective conservation measures on islands. Islands has been long also in ecological and biodiversity research underappreciated because just tiny specks of land somewhere in the ocean. But actually they are much more than just a paradise for holidays and honeymoons. They support high biodiversity, valuable biodiversity, unique biodiversity. And I'm passionate about islands and about the biota and biodiversity on islands, and I would really like to hand that over also to many more people, that we really feel also passionate about the biodiversity of our islands and not just see them as a holiday paradise.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and let us know in the comment section below what news you'd like us to cover in the future.